and welcome to another episode of the Influential Nonprofit. I am your host, Maryann Dersch. I work with nonprofit leaders to master the art of influence so they can ask for and receive all they want, need, and deserve without feeling these three things no one wants to feel: rejected, ineffective, or pushy. Who wants to be that? And today we're going to talk about something that I love and I think is the most underutilized, misunderstood tool for communication, which is email marketing. You know, if you listen to my stuff, I'm really passionate and I do good emails. So I stand behind what I do. And I'm with Katelyn Baughan. And Katelyn, did I say your last name right? Because I should have asked before and I didn't.
That's okay. It gets butchered all the time. It's Baughan.
Baughan. Well, see, yeah, it's Baughan. It's all right. My husband's last name is Schmucky, so no, I didn't. So Katelyn Baughan, thank you. Okay, Katelyn is going to talk. Katelyn is an entrepreneur, and she runs a business, a marketing consultancy, KB Digital, and works with nonprofits. And we're going to talk about nonprofit email marketing. Now, Katelyn, if you know my podcast, I always start with the first question. So the first question I ask is, tell me something you're proud of that you don't get to brag about a lot.
Thank you so much for having me, Maryanne. First of all, this is such an honor. I love you and all of your content. But
Thank
if
you.
we're gonna go into something I'm really proud of, I'm gonna be really honest. I am just proud of surviving the last 2 years of being a business owner and a mom through COVID. I think we all deserve to celebrate that. Don't you think?
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah.
We do.
It hasn't been an easy few years, and I'm just happy to have sort of gotten through it and figured it out and come out on the other side.
And I think maybe the pace of life just starts to pick up and we don't pause and say, wow, I did that. I got through that and I'm okay. And in fact, everyone's doing well, you know. It wasn't just like got through it. You did it. And I love that because it was tough. I don't think we realized how tough it was till we got to the other side of it. You know?
Yeah, I had my second child in 2020, March 2020. And so that was like right when COVID happened, and I was home with a newborn and my second child, her daycare closed, and I was trying to also run my business. And so I'm just happy that all of that is done
So
with.
I'm going to ask a question that's sort of off topic, but also I was thinking about this. Do you feel like your kids' development is different, you know, because of COVID? Or do you think they just kind of like figured it out? It wasn't a thing. I'm just wondering if we're going to see in the next few years, maybe some shifts or some issues in development.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my kids are super resilient, and I don't think they knew any better. You know, they
Right.
had to wear the mask, they weren't allowed to hug each other. There's a lot of events that we missed out on. My husband and I were just reflecting on our last Thanksgiving where we stayed home and we didn't go see family. And so I think that emotionally, yes, this is going to affect them down the line. You know, my 5-year-old, she's not very touchy-feely with other people. She doesn't like to give hugs. And I think that's kind of
part of
because
it.
her
Yeah.
entire life she's been told don't give each
Don't
other
touch.
hugs, wash your hands. So unfortunately I think so, but hopefully as parents we've done our best to prepare them.
For sure.
And everyone's on the same level, right? I mean, we all did it together, so we'll see.
My son, my middle kid is well, he's technically a senior, but he doesn't have the credits because I'm gonna tell you, like my kids could not do virtual school. All my kids are adopted. My younger two have learning issues that he just did not connect with that. And but there's a lot of fifth-year seniors. I feel, you know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of kids who just going to need a little more time to get through. And like I said, we're all in the same place, you know?
Yeah. And I think in the nonprofit space in general, and this is probably off topic, but we've all just been completely burnt out because we're trying to work from home, we're trying to watch our kids, we're trying to, in general, when you work at a nonprofit, I worked at a nonprofit as a marketing manager for 4 years, and I did it all. I was one person team, and I think that's very common. And so, yeah, I'm really passionate about trying to find ways to integrate your life with your work, and have work-life harmony. And that's something that I think is truly important for everybody, not just
Yeah, it
moms,
is.
but
It
all
is.
of us. Yeah.
It is. And that's a lot of what I work with clients on, is creating more ease and grace and flow in their life. And so that they can, so they can, like the Rumi quote is, you give from the overflow, not the depths of the well. Right. And because that, when we give from the depths of the well, there's resentment, right? We're giving more than we're getting, and we feel resentful. And that undercurrent of resentment can really make it difficult to connect with people in an authentic way, and to be that leader that you want to be. All right. Well, I'm proud of you too for getting through COVID. That sounds crazy. No daycare, a newborn, and a business. And I want to talk about email marketing, because it's something that I really emphasize, and I don't feel like it's used in the right way. So I would love for you to share with me just overall what do you feel like is important about email marketing to nonprofits?
Yeah, so I help nonprofits with creating and executing their digital marketing strategies. And lately, I've been offering email marketing services, and have become really passionate about helping my clients use email to communicate with their supporters and reach their goals. And the reason why I love email, and there's multiple reasons, but it has the highest ROI. So email marketing makes money. And that's what all us nonprofits, all of my nonprofit clients, that's the number one goal. And so there's a statistic out there: for every $1 you spend on email marketing, you can expect an average return of $36. And so I love email over social, over advertising, over website strategies, just because it has the highest ROI. But then also, I love email marketing because you own your list. So if Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok went down tomorrow, would you still have a way to communicate with your supporters? Would you?
Right.
You should.
Right.
And and I think a lot of people focus on social because it's kind of the low hanging fruit. But really, when it comes to like organic, like 1% of your audience is seeing what you're posting
Right.
anyways. So I think email is a better use of time and energy and
And
resources.
I think this is so important because, so first of all, what you said, last year, an organization that I volunteer for, Stray Rescue of St. Louis. They're not a client or anything. I foster puppies. Anyway, I've been involved with them forever, and they got their Facebook, which is their main thing, main social media, was pulled for community guidelines violations, and it was the day before Giving Tuesday.
Yikes.
And it's literally their biggest fundraising day of the year. And I think it was like not the day before, but a couple of days before. And they had no control. And it took them months to get back up. Now, fortunately, they went and did a big PR campaign, kind of guerrilla marketing. You know what I mean? But you can't do that every year, right?
Yeah.
And they wound up getting the page back, but they had to create another. I mean, it was a mess. It was a mess because they had like 200,000 something, followers of that page, and it just went away, poof, gone. And so I do think that it is really important. Like I call it, you building your house on rented land. Like you don't own that. And I also think that social media is kind of like the shiny, cool thing, like, ooh,
Mhm.
and it's more public. So more people see what you do. And so I think there's some sexiness to it, and it's not a bad thing. Like, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying like there are you have to understand the benefits and the limitations of the media, of the social media, and what it can do for you.
Mhm.
What do you feel like, well, what do you feel like like, what are people doing the most wrong with email? Let's just get to it.
I think that there's a lot of asking and not a lot of cultivation,
Okay.
or storytelling. And so I feel like our fundraising campaigns are always planned out, and we ask too much instead of inspiring, and sharing the impact. And
And
so
like
you cannot
making,
expect, yeah, I've had clients who are like, oh, we have this upcoming campaign, and maybe they don't see the results that they had hoped. And when we look at it holistically, I say, well, what are the touch points? What's the journey? And you see that it's just ask, ask, ask,
hmm,
maybe a newsletter here, and then silence, and then it's ask, ask, ask. And so there's not enough of that in between.
sure. Yeah. And of just helping people feel like they're a part of a community or they're a part of something. Um, what I see, and I wanted you to see if this is true for you, is people get, I see people stirring up a lot of energy around social media and then using their email list, but they're not necessarily creating a pipeline. So your job is to get people off of social media onto your email list. I feel like that, you know what I mean? So like you can get people, but get them into your own orbit, right? Into onto your list, like the thing that you own. And so that's one of the issues that I see people could really work on is how can I take the friends that I'm making on social media and have them join a list so that I get them off of there and then into a reliable reach, right? Into my orbit. Is that something you see as well?
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. Retention is something that is a challenge. I think that the numbers consistently sit below 50%, which means that most nonprofit organizations are losing more than half of their supporters. And so you have to think about ways to get new people on the list, and how do you then nurture them? And so doing so, from your website, having a lead magnet on your website, from your events, your in-person events, from your social, those are all great ways. You can use um, social media advertising to do that as well. There's contests, there's so many different ways to do it, but I think the important part is just having it as a goal and one of your strategies, on a regular basis,
Right.
so that
I
you're consistently doing it. As people fall off, new people are coming on.
Right. Right. Because you know what, that's okay. Right? Like people it's like if it's not for you, that's cool, but we want to keep moving towards finding people that are aligned with our mission. And I do not know why like every organization does not have a lead magnet on, when you go to their website because and I did a whole podcast about this because it's technology anyone can access. It's not expensive, right? And it's going to do that job of getting people off of social media it can be one of the things that can do that job. And of just capturing. So it's like what I see is like you're stirring up a lot of energy and then you're just not like capturing those people, that data, all that energy like inside your organization. Now what do you think about like frequency of mailing and content of emails? We talked about like it's a little too salesy, but what do you recommend? What do you help people do?
I think that it depends on the quality of the content. Like, I don't want people to be just sending emails to send emails. I think that it has to be great content and there has to be a strategy behind it. That being said, I think that we under communicate, and there's a fear-based mindset that we're inundating our supporters, communicating too much, sending too
Right.
many emails. And actually, it's the opposite. We're not communicating enough, and we're not building that community that we need to be building. For example, one really well-known nonprofit that I worked with this year, they sent out 17 emails in one campaign. No, those were 17 emails that were, there was a strategy behind it. Each one had a different story, was sent from a different person. So there's more to that, but like just throwing that number out there usually it takes people by surprise. Like, oh, I thought, one or two emails would be
Right.
enough. It's not enough. And
It's not
people need
enough.
to see things, I think it's seven
7 times.
times
Yeah, that's the
before they take action. So like maybe seven should be the baseline for if you're doing a campaign. But I also like encourage people to think of different ways to tell the story. Like for instance, have somebody, one of my clients patients is the community that they help. So have an email coming directly from a patient in, them telling their story, or have it coming from the CEO, or have it coming from one of the employees or the volunteers. And so that people are seeing kind of different points of view and are connecting in different ways.
okay. So I think this issue of under communication is a really interesting one, because so much of the work I do is about what's beneath that, right? Like what's beneath the issue. You know what I mean? The problem that we know and admit to in this case is we feel like we're communicating too much. So what's the problem that we know, but we're not quite willing to admit? It's like there's something there that feels like the communication is a burden, or you know what I mean? There's something underneath there where we think, oh, that's too much, like that too much being seen, or too like I'm going to bother people, or I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? That causes people to like think of like 17 emails. Oh my gosh, that's too many. Oh, that feels weird. Like, okay, what's under there? What are we afraid of? I don't
Mhm.
know what thoughts you have on that, or what you see in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's all in your mindset. Like in your mind, you're inundating people. For what I see is that nonprofit leaders or marketers or fundraisers even think that they're inundating people with things they don't want to read or see or hear about. Whereas if you kind of change your mindset to this is information they're really going to love to see and hear, then I think that, we'd all be in a better place if we, you know, change that mindset a little bit. And it helps to show. That's why I tell people, like, this client is sending people 17 emails. How many
Right.
emails are you sending? So that's why I like to show people like the data and the metrics and let them compare to really successful nonprofits so that they know that this is
Right.
normal. And as long as you're providing something that is valuable and is telling a story and showing impact, there shouldn't be that fear behind
Right.
we're sending too many emails.
We're
But if you're
sending too
sending
many.
spammy stuff,
Right.
then yes, you're right.
So
you
like,
know,
and most people, I would call it like the booty call, right? Like they're only emailing when they need something. And like, so the other thing is because we're recording this on the Wednesday, the day after Giving Tuesday, right?
oh
Which I
yes.
call Unsubscribe Wednesday, because everyone gets like, I don't know, this nonprofit, like they forgot that they were a part of your community because you weren't being in touch with them. So I think that just that rhythm and that frequency is really important. Like if you're, here's how I see it. If you have a 20% open rate, which is a really nice open rate, and you're mailing once a month, you're missing most of your list.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's talk about that. Let's talk about open rates, because this is something that I've been hearing so much lately is people throwing out these open rates. We have really good open rates is what people tell me. But open rates are I hate to say it, are not reliable anymore because
Okay.
of this iOS update that recently happened. People are opting out of wanting to be tracked. And so the open rates are really inflated. They're not correct. What we really need to be focusing on is click-through rates. How many people are clicking? And that's how we know if they're opening, because it's not reliable anymore to use that as a KPI. And so I just want to throw that out there because I keep hearing this over and over, people saying they have really good open rates, and there's just no way
So,
to know if those are right or not anymore.
here's what I'm hearing is the open rates are no longer really reliable because of the OSI operating system update allows
Mhm.
people to opt out of their um data being tracked, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you have, so all we're seeing are the people who didn't opt out, right? So we have just everyone who, and so because, right, and so that's inflating the open rates.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly. Well, there's more to it, but I won't go into it. I mean, I've done a couple posts about this, but privacy is the future. Like, people want to say, yes, I want your emails, and then I want to interact with them if I want to and engage with you if I want to. They don't
sure.
want these emails coming into their inbox and spamming them, and the same thing's happening with social ads. And so it's the future, and we all need to be aware of it and think of ways to
So
build community,
And so what's
do this
important, what
forward.
I'm hearing from you is what's important is that you have a link in your email to something like,
Something, yeah.
right. Yeah. And what I do, and I've done a podcast about this before, is I have a system I developed called a content hourglass. And what I do is I take one piece of content a week, right? I create one piece of content and I create audio, video, and a print article from that one piece of content. And I put it all on a page on a blog on my website. So now I'm driving people to the website, right?
Hmm.
And so the email will have a link to my website. So I'm going to start looking more at the click-through rates, because that's really more, because it's going off of your email, then that's more reliable. That's tracked. You can't opt out of that. I think thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is really important. Because I mean, I think you can still look at open rates, but they're just not going to be as reliable as they were in the past.
Exactly, yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so something else that you said I think is really important when you were talking about that little example is coming from like a patient or the CEO or a volunteer, is it's a person to person interaction. And a lot of folks, they do a newsletter kind of style thing where it's more like articles. And I feel like what works is that person to person connection instead of more like an article. And I don't know what you see, but that's certainly like, I'm coming into somebody's home. I'm coming into their, I see your dog just stretching out over there. Hi, puppy.
He's always around. That's Dexter.
Hi, Dexter. I just moved up to this office. I don't know if I told you this before. I'm getting these stairs carpeted because my dogs are like trying to get up these wooden stairs to
Yeah,
come sit with me.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to get some, I can hear my one dog. She's really old and she tried to get up and then she just slid down. She's like, oh,
Oh, poor
honey, I know,
baby.
poor sweetie. So I'm gonna get that done here really soon. So anyway, all right. Is that it feels personal, like the more
Hmm.
personal, the more authentic, the more
Hmm.
open, vulnerable, transparent you can be, the more people will connect with it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think I completed a webinar. I think it was Kindful CRM. They did a webinar where they tested an an email that looked like a branded email. It had a header, a hero image, a signature, and a footer. And then they tested one that was just text, no logo, no button, no nothing. and had a few links in it. And that one outperformed the other one that would looked like a marketing email. So people are getting smarter. They can see like, oh, this is another marketing email, or they're trying to sell me something or ask me for money. And so if there's a way where you can make it less marketing-y and more, like you said, for lack of a better term, like you said, like it looks like an email that's coming from Maryanne, and
Right.
it's not so stuffy. And you spend so much time building these beautiful emails, which, don't get me wrong, design is important as well, but do some testing and see what your audience responds well to.
I mean, and if
Uh,
you look at the direct mail,
yeah.
it's the same pattern.
Yeah.
People send out those pages, of appeal letters with the underlines, like, because it works. And we
Mhm.
have to remember, like, that people make decisions with their subconscious brain, not their conscious brain. So when you look at those things with your conscious brain and say, "Oh, I would never give to that," or "That doesn't look professional," or whatever, you're thinking with your conscious brain. Your subconscious brain is actually the one that's opening those emails and
Mhm.
deciding within a split second whether you're going to go look or not. And so
Yep.
when you look at, oh, I have these beautiful appeal letters versus the ones that they seem so, that's the underlines and the PSs and the page after page, that's because they work.
Yeah.
Right, the
Yep.
data, and like the kindful one that you said, that is working. And so it takes some trust in the data and the numbers, and then also understanding that, people are making decisions with their subconscious. The subconscious doesn't think, it's just yes or no, and it doesn't contemplate. And in that half of second, quarter of a second it takes for them to open or not, that's that they're using. So if you know what I mean, if we're judging it
Yeah.
with our conscious, like, oh, would I give what I no, that's not the
Yeah.
question to ask,
Yeah.
because your conscious brain, like, oh, that doesn't look great, but it's just not going to test well. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is something like, oh, the development committee, you're like, well, we can't send that out. Well, here's what the data show, right? Like,
Mhm.
there's facts and there's feelings, and but here's the facts. Like, this is what the data shows, that works. And the more personal, the less commercial, right? People want to connect with a human.
Yeah.
And instead
Yeah.
of an institution to an organization, it's a person inside an organization, right?
Yep.
That's who they
Yeah,
want to
and
connect with.
I think you bring up a good point about, the person to person and having relationships. And the one type of fundraising that does better than email marketing with a higher ROI actually is peer-to-peer fundraising. And so I think it's peer-to-peer is different than email. It's two different things, but it's a person. Like, I can tell you 100% if my sister-in-law emails me saying that she is fundraising for Sandy Hook and asking, for donations, 100% I'm donating. And
Right.
so, because I want to support her and this is important to her. And so I would like to see more organizations doing that, where they're getting their supporters involved to ask their networks for donations and to support causes that they care about. Yeah, I mean, even this morning I got a text from my brother because he knows that I work with nonprofits. Like, is there any nonprofit that you think I should donate to for Giving Tuesday that would, that you care about? Because I don't really have one that I am that connected to. And so through me, he donates to causes that I'm a part of.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that's a whole nother that's a whole
Yeah.
nother podcast on that.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely there is an opportunity to get your donors involved in their networks, right? And raising money for you through their networks. And you're right, people will give because they love you and they care about you, or you love your sister. And like, of course I'm gonna do that.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
there's so much more we could talk about
Yeah.
as far as email marketing. Um, and I'm so glad that you brought up the open rates and the no iOS thing, because I knew that was coming and I kind of forgotten about that. So thank you for sharing that and all of that perspective. Is there anything else you would want nonprofit marketers here to know or to consider in email marketing?
Yeah, the one last thing that I would say is something that I would recommend for every nonprofit marketer to do is get involved with marketing automation. We all have such limited resources and time, and typically it's like a one one person doing everything. And so use marketing automation to your advantage by setting up welcome series, by setting up engagement series. You can set up anniversary or birthday, special occasion emails. All of those are like a set it and forget it type strategy where you write it all, get it all approved up front, and then you can set it up throughout the year to have these touch points happen in between your asks. And so for clients, I do that. I help them with setting up these journeys so that they're not constantly asking, and that there's touch points in between to retain and build relationships with their
Yeah.
supporters.
I love, and we all have that capacity,
Yeah.
right? All our CRMs have that capability. So there's nothing new you need, just utilizing more fully the technology that you have. And another thing is like, okay, so I know when I get the birthday thing from a nonprofit that I donate to, that it is just that, right? Like, and also I still like it because
Yeah.
it's lighting up my subconscious brain, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I know it's automated and I still feel it. Right. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
don't be afraid of automate. I'm just saying, don't be afraid of automating things because that's not how people perceive it. Again, that's with your conscious brain.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and use those nurture sequences to, um, to bring people in so that they feel a part of a community. Like your job is to make people feel part of a community. Um, all
Hmm.
right. So what is next for you? What is on the horizon for you and your work with nonprofits?
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm really excited next year. I'm planning to launch coaching services that will help nonprofit consultants build their businesses that better integrates with their lifestyle, aka work-life harmony. I've just seen a lot of burnout in the industry, and I've been there myself. So I want to help others to be less anxious and stressed and be able to excel both at home and at work. Of course, I'm still going to offer my marketing services because marketing is my first love, but I also want to connect more with other people who are doing what I'm doing or want to start consulting so they can live a more full life. So I'm excited about that.
And I'm excited about that too, because that's how I run my business. There's certain principles, I don't work. I mean, I'm a coach and a trainer. I'm not a consultant, right? And I purposely put the sign in the yard on that one because I wanted to create a business that worked with my life and also that I saw was helpful for people and, that actually helped people. um,
Yeah.
and so I love what you're doing because, energy precedes outcomes, right? I say this all the time, frequency first. And so the energy by which you create guides and determines the creation. My coach, Michelle Villalobos, says this all the time. So when we talk about like how we create something from, is it from fear, is it from scarcity, is it from tension? That's what we're going to create more of. So you're going to help people have more joy and grace and ease in their business so they can work with people and bring them more joy and grace and ease. And I just have this plan that we're all just like slowly raising the vibe of an industry. I want to transform an industry. I can't do it by myself. And so I love that
Yes.
that's the direction you're going because I feel like in our industry, we have an assumption that we have to struggle, we have to sacrifice in order for others to be better. And it's actually the opposite. The more we care, like I said, giving from the overflow, not the depths of the well. So you're helping people fill the well. I think it's amazing.
Thank you, Maryanne. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great chatting with you.
Yeah. Okay. My last question.
Oh,
So my last question is always the same question. So before you go, now I'm coming to your area. I'm coming to the Baltimore area. And so this may actually work out. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm coming, I think it's in February to do a workshop with Western Maryland
yay.
AFP. Right. And so I love karaoke. So let's say I whip into town and we wind up at the karaoke bar. High probability of that happening if I'm in town. What's your
Let's
go-to
do it.
karaoke song? What are you going to wow me with, Katelyn?
Oh, my go-to karaoke song is Hotel California by the Eagles.
Okay, I did not
I
see that one coming.
I love the song, and me and my sister-in-law did this song karaoke a few years ago, so it's just always been my go-to. Although it's so long that
Yes.
like I need it to be cut in half. But if I didn't do that song, I'd probably do Let's Stay Together by Al Green,
That's
because
a great song.
that's mine and my husband's wedding song. So it just makes me
Oh,
so happy, and I want to dance and sing to it.
all right. It's a date. It's a date. Oh,
Let's
thank you,
do it.
Katelyn. There, I know. We are. We're gonna figure this out. Thank you for being on the podcast. And if you I will put your contact info. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
I mostly hang out on LinkedIn, so that's probably the best place. My last name is spelled just because it doesn't sound the way it's spelled. It's Baughan. So I think it's like linkedin.com/Katelyn
Caitlin,
Baughan.
yeah. And we'll put the link in the show notes
Okay.
so people can reach out to you that way if they're interested in having you help them with their digital marketing.
Yeah, would
All
love
right.
to.
Thank you so much. And that's it for this episode of the Influential Nonprofit. If you I am looking for some guests for my podcast. So if you are an amazing leader or if you are an amazing consultant like Katelyn and want to have a conversation with me, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at Maryanne@courageouscommunication.com. And as always, you can go to the influentialnonprofit.com and download your Uplevel Your Influence Starter Kit. It's a lot of cool stuff in there that'll help you communicate and lead more effectively. And I'll see you next time on the Influential Nonprofit.